Hey, what's up YouTube? Ebenstar here, and we're going to be doing some painting today. These are Retribution Myrmidons, or the Retribution Warjacks for Warmachine. And today we're going to be doing a lot of airbrushing because, as you may know, the Retribution studio scheme is white. And I'm going to show you one way I do white. And now I paint white a lot. I think you might recall from the previous Anima Tactics painting video that was an airbrush white technique, and this is going to be very similar. And so because there's not much to explain here other than I'm starting with a light sea blue and then blending my way up to a light gray, and then I'll finally be blending up to white. There's not a whole lot here to talk about other than blending the paints together and then applying it with airbrush, going smaller and smaller areas. Sometimes that means turning your pressure down. It definitely means keeping your paints the right consistency. You can see that the models are already starting to turn white there. This is probably maybe two layers in or so, and you can see I'm focusing in on the top parts of the model. Now, there's a lot of hype going on about airbrushing and using an airbrush as a tool in painting, and you know, the fact of the matter is the airbrush does have its uses, but I personally think that it's a little overhyped. I mean, you can, if you know what to do with an airbrush, you can pick really favorable situations to ys it, this being one of them, because I am doing a lot of white. And also the shape of the models, as you can tell, the Myrmidons here have these broad, soft spots, and that's a great opportunity to really apply a very fine transition between the blue and the white. So I'm taking advantage of the sculpt here and using my airbrush for that. So now I'm coming in with white applied with a thinning medium. So now I'm actually going to go in and do that fine highlight. And again, I'll point out that I'm using like one of the cheapest airbrushes you can buy, and this is like I think the Master G23, and you can get them on Amazon for like next to nothing. In some cases, this airbrush is cheaper than like the needle kits or some of the other replacement parts for some of those airbrushes you hear touted so much on YouTube. And quite frankly, you know, an airbrush and a user is kind of like having you choose your own suit. You're going to be comfortable with the airbrush of your choice, and quite frankly, you're not going to know what your preferences are for airbrush until you actually start to airbrush. So my preference is to stay cheap on those base coats with the G23, and you know, quite recently I've been using a harder Steenbeck for fine detail. But again, this is no advertisement for an airbrush, and nor do I necessarily say that it's a requirement to use one. So now I'm coming in, after I've got that transition down, I'm coming in with just some Vallejo model color white, and I'm just applying the final highlights. So already getting fairly close to the end with the white. And now we're going to go ahead and move ahead towards the non-metallic metal. This shouldn't be anything new to any of you that are familiar with my painting. I do non-metallics mainly because I don't really like to mess with metallics. I don't like how they treat my brushes, and quite frankly, I'm just not a fan of the look. So I go in with some black gray and start blending that with white, and you apply the highlights in such a way that you know, it creates that non-metallic look. I don't really do the fancy non-metallic. You can see it's pretty straightforward stuff that I'm doing here. One thing I will say is I left some of the lighted vents blue so that you can actually see the glowing effect from the things like the Phoenix and the Aspis there. So now that this is done, I'm going to start coming in with some of those lighting effects. And for the lighting effects, I use a a couple of different things. I use a really light Vallejo model color sky blue, but I also, for the lighting effects in that transition, I'll actually spot apply either ink or wash. I believe in this case I'm using a Vallejo model color blue wash or blue shade, and I'm just applying that around the outside. You'll see that I'll come back in and target the lightest part of the light with the sky blue, and that's going to give us the lighting effect. And that's pretty much it for this painting. It's pretty straightforward. I know that white intimidates a lot of people, so somebody asked me how I did the whites on my Myrmidons, and I thought I would share with you guys. So you can see I'm doing the final highlights there, and we're going to go to some stills, and pretty much that's it. Just want to thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.